It's Tuesday, October 20th, and this is now on HNN.
We now have people coming in who either refuse to get a test, don't want to be tested, don't know about getting tested.
Since the relaunch of tourism, Honolulu police have issued thousands of warnings to those violating COVID-19 orders.
And we don't want to see any lax enforcement at all.
A deadly surge in coronavirus cases in states across the country. I'm Laura Podesta with a potential decision that could affect people who commute here to New York City.
We want to learn about the history of the solar system as a whole.
Happening now, history in the making. NASA's about to scoop up some asteroid dirt.
Turo's looking to throw.
These stories, plus it's officially Tua time in Miami. That's coming up on This Is Now. Good afternoon. Thank you for watching This Is Now. Jonathan and Ashley here coming to you from the H&N Digital Center. We want to get right to our top stories of the day.
Health officials say 2 more patients with COVID-19 have died. Both of them are on Oahu, bringing Hawaii's official death toll to 189. DOH is also reporting 91 new infections today. 61 cases are on Oahu, 24 on the Big Island, 2 on Maui, and 4 residents were diagnosed out of state. Meanwhile, more than 58,000 cases were reported yesterday across the U.S., and hospitalizations are on the rise in 38 states. Laura Podesta has the latest developments.
Coronavirus hospitalizations have more than tripled over the last month in Wisconsin. All 3 of the COVID units at University Hospital in Madison are now full.
I didn't have any COVID patients a couple of weeks ago, and now my whole service is COVID patients.
Dr. Alexandra Wick says COVID patients coming in now have more severe symptoms than those she saw earlier in the pandemic. A new drive-through testing site just opened at the Major League Baseball stadium in Milwaukee.
A friend of mine was tested positive, and I just want to make sure that I'm safe.
Late Monday, the CDC issued a strong recommendation for mask wearing on airplanes, trains, buses, and in taxis to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The new guidance also says operators transporting people should refuse boarding to anyone not wearing a mask and require masks for the duration of travel. Here in New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo says the infection rates in hotspots are declining, but the infection rates in states surrounding New York are going up. Officials are now determining whether Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Connecticut should be added to the travel advisory list. But state leaders admit, due to the number of people who commute back and forth from those states, the mandatory 2-week quarantine wouldn't make sense.
Traveling into New York and then coming back to New Jersey, to my way of thinking, is not a quarantine event.
In Texas, the World Series begins tonight with changes thanks to COVID-19. Crowds will be about the size they were in 1909, with only 11,500 guests allowed per game.
And it's a testament to the players, even to Major League Baseball, that we were able to get to this point, and I'm super thankful for that. Many Dodgers fans will be gathering in their LA Stadium parking lot to watch the game against the Tampa Bay Rays on big screen TVs. Laura Podesta, CBS News, New York.
Now, HPD says it has seen an uptick in COVID violations, issuing more than 470 citations and 4,500 warnings since the relaunch of tourism on Thursday. Take one look around Waikiki and you'll see many visitors and some locals not wearing masks or staying distanced from each other. Mayor Caldwell said the visitor industry isn't doing enough to inform tourists about the rules.
I've seen visitors not wearing their face coverings while outside. I'm a little discouraged by the fact, that our partners in the visitor industry have not started to educate visitors.
I know within the confines of the property, we are going to be adhering to all of that because that's part of our standards. We get it, we understand it, and we don't want to see any lax enforcement at all.
The head of the Hotel Association told us the industry is educating visitors, but they can't control them off property. Now for more on this discussion, today we checked in with Angela Keene, the co-founder of the group known as the Hawaii Quarantine Kapu Breakers.
Let me ask you this. You have people across the state. What are they seeing just since Thursday?
So on all the major islands, we have numbers that have expanded over the last few months. And honestly, it just blew me away and shocked me. Because when we talked to some of the medical experts, the epidemiologists that were looking at the numbers and the data and what trends they're seeing, they said, well, the visitors are the ones that are going to wear the masks, and locals may have issues. But we found just the absolute opposite. Over the weekend, we did an impromptu survey. And so I had people on each island that were in tourist areas. And my phone was just blowing up. So I was getting messages saying, people aren't wearing masks. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. We thought this was part of the deal. And there were a few that are kind enough, to share some aloha and say, hey, especially like on Maui, it's a mandate to wear the mask. And what they received back were expletives and the finger shouts, let the police arrest me, and so on and so forth. So we were really surprised, and the only thing that I can think of is maybe these are visitors who aren't the Hawaii lover visitors. I work in the tourism industry as a wedding officiant. I haven't had any weddings. I'm looking forward to that. But those visitors that we normally get have so much aloha and are willing to bend over backwards to help make things right here. I also think that with all of that's gone on the last 7 months, people are in COVID fatigue. Our residents are upset when they see people breaking rules because they've done so well over the past few months. So I'm sad to say that we found visitor after visitor after visitor without masks on. It was pretty disappointing.
So, Angela, let me ask you this. We're not even 1 week into this. How tense do you think it has been and will be between visitors and locals because of this?
I actually predicted with some of state leadership and city leadership that I feel by the end of the week or next week, we'll probably see people butting heads. One of our members, his wife, works in a small store on the Big Island, and they clearly have signage. It's a small store, only 6 people can go in there. And a woman was outside waiting to get in. She waited for a bit. She refused to put on her mask, even though the signage was there. And it was just so upsetting for the person running the shop because they felt embarrassed. They felt upset. And really all we want is kokua. And much of this is just because of simple education. I worked in, marketing and healthcare for so many years. And in order to educate people, you start slow and steady, and then you flood the market. It's not happened yet. And much of the reaction that we're seeing, like we saw yesterday from Mayor, was because of our pleas for help. We were talking to authorities already last week about making sure that there's some ho'oponopono or peacemaking that happens in education for visitors so our visitors and our residents can get along.
State health officials released new guidelines to help the education department determine when to bring students back to campus. This comes after the state's previous guidelines were criticized for allowing schools to reopen at a higher infection rate. Chelsea Davis has more.
Keep in mind, these are guidelines. Nothing is set in stone. The Department of Education says it still needs to review it. And as of right now, there are no changes for the second quarter. Teachers I spoke with say they need more. The new tiered structure is based on 2 consecutive 7-day averages of case counts and for the first time, positivity rates. In-person learning for each island or county is only allowed with at most an average of 2 daily cases per 100,000 people, with less than 1% of all tests coming back positive. Blended learning begins at an average of 5 daily cases per 100,000 people and a 2.5% positivity rate. While the guidance also lists requirements for in-person and blended learning, the head of the Hawaii Teachers Union says there is no accountability.
There has to be some way to double check and hold the Department of Education accountable. Right now, there's nothing other than their word that these mitigation strategies are being done, and I can tell you we know for certain that they're not being done.
For example, Rosenlee says students aren't maintaining 6 feet distancing in the cafeteria and hallways before and after school. And he says custodians can't keep up.
We know that our janitors are completely overwhelmed and that certain areas are not disinfected daily, and especially those high-touch areas.
A Hawaii County high school teacher who wants to remain anonymous out of fear of retaliation by the DOE says the guidelines are an improvement, but it's still not enough.
I think that if they really were to focus on filtration and ventilation, that would be ideal because that's how it travels. Students and teachers are really kind of guinea pigs right now. They're like, well, we're not really sure. Just go back to school. Let's see what happens. I need to know that if I'm going to be risking my life, that people are looking out for it. And I don't feel like that's happening.
The data from the 2 7-day cycles is posted on the Department of Health's website every Wednesday. You can also read the full 33-page guidance document at hawaiinewsnow.com. Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
The Justice Department is going after Google. Howard Dykes has your business news.
The long-expected antitrust suit has been filed today. Google is accused of anti-competitive conduct, paying cell phone makers billions to make Google their default search engine, blocking competitors. Justice has been preparing this suit for years. There have been news reports Attorney General Barr pressed the prosecutors to file charges now or never. COVID drives car demand by people who no longer take mass transit or cabs, but COVID cut production for a while. A thriving used car market has therefore resulted. An OPEC summit ends without agreement on production cuts. Crude oil this morning under $41 a barrel. New this morning, U.S. housing construction rose 5% in September, not as much as expected, but still rebounding from a big August decline. And investment banking is strong, but consumer banking is weak, so banks are chasing new accounts. 7 million U.S. households have no bank accounts. That's 5% of all households.
Happening now, NASA's about to make history with a mission to an asteroid. Right now, as we speak, a spacecraft is attempting to retrieve a sample from the asteroid named Bennu. Now, asteroids are the remnants of the building blocks that formed the planets in our solar system billions of years ago, and perhaps even enabled life on Earth. Get this, Bennu has a small chance of impacting Earth in the late 2100s. That's a long time off, but the mission will also help experts learn more about protecting ourselves and the planet if necessary. Today, I got a chance to talk to one of the NASA researchers who's monitoring the progress of this project right now. Why in the world would we want to go to an asteroid and pick up some rocks?
Yeah, no, it sounds a fascinating thing. So, well, of course, there is a science thing. We're trying to learn about the formation of the solar system. We can tell you more later. But I think that the main also thing is to understand, one day we are worried that an asteroid may hit Earth, and we don't know how to prevent from it. The more we learn about their composition, how they behave with the interaction of the sun, how they move around the solar system, the more we can prevent their movement. And then maybe one day, when we are fearful about something hitting us, we can develop a mission that can maybe deflect this object away from Earth.
Okay, I'm sure you've heard this before. This seems like something out of science fiction, like Deep Impact or Armageddon. Talk a little bit more about that maneuvering that's going on in space right now.
Exactly. I mean, the fact is that, most of the things we know about asteroids has been done with telescopes. So we can understand, how dark they are, things like that on the surface. But being able to actually go into orbit into an asteroid, then going physically landing on an asteroid, taking a piece of rock from that asteroid and bring it back to Earth is a massive endeavor. Everything has to be done autonomous. So by doing that, we learn a lot of things about how to access and land on a small body like this, but also being prepared for future exploration of the solar system. So even though it sounds like science fiction, what is going to happen today is actually in some way is science fiction. I mean, everything will be autonomous. We know there is a delay between us and the asteroid of 18 minutes. So it means that we give a command, it will, we have to wait all that time. So it has to be fully autonomous. So the fact that this is all happening by itself with a computer inside is very, pretty remarkable.
A crazy question, but I think it's sort of an obvious one too. What makes you guys assure that whatever you bring back to Earth is safe and wouldn't in any way harm human life or any other part of the planet?
No, that's actually a very good question. So one of a big entity within NASA is called planetary protection. Planetary protection has two components. We call it forward. So we don't want to contaminate anything, pristine outside of Earth. If you go to the moon, we go to Mars, We don't want to contaminate anything, and also backward contaminants. We don't bring anything harmful. There's one of the good things about this rock that has been there for 4.5 billion years, so has been heavily radiated by UV radiation. So we can say it has been heavily sterilized for billions of years. So if we can find something more sterile from that sense, it will be the surface of this object. And so we of course, nevertheless, we have a lot of procedures when the sample is being cached here on Earth. But it does not. We're not worried so much about it because of all the things I was telling you about the processing of the surface. But we're looking at how here are very simple molecular things, nothing more complex than that.
All right, guys, we're looking at this command center of NASA's, and we're seeing a lot of cheering here. I'm checking NASA's Twitter, and we haven't seen any official updates, but look, they're very happy. So something good really happened on that asteroid. We don't know if the sampling actually took place or it just landed. I saw them show a graph that did show that it did look like the modules landed, and then we saw the cheering, so we're only assuming that is what happened.
They're all super excited. I got chicken skin. I don't even know what they're cheering about, but it's good.
Yeah. So monitor NASA's Twitter. We'll do the same, and we'll let you know as soon as we know. But for now, let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy with a check of your weather.
Aloha on this Tuesday. That cold front continues to pull up a lot of rain over Kauai and to some extent Oahu, and that's going to be the case through the day today. Drier conditions from Maui all the way to the Big Island, although they might get a few spotty showers as well. But the heaviest rain is expected into Kauai, already doused and soaked from this morning's rain, and some of the showers moving up over Oahu as well with a few splashy downpours. And those winds will remain out of the south mainly, so that will allow for higher than normal humidity levels, and variable winds take over by tomorrow, and they're going to be here for a long stretch. So get ready for a long extended period of very hot and humid conditions. Now for today, with that cold front lingering, most of the clouds and showers will favor Kauai and Oahu with some isolated downpours, right? And then drier conditions from Maui County to the Big Island, although they could see some afternoon showers build up because of the light winds and the high humidity levels. It's going to be sticky across state for the next several days. Now the surf's going to be a little bit bigger for north and east shores later today on a small pulse coming in from the north-northeast. Not a big swell by any stretch. A bigger swell, however, is due into north and west shores over the weekend. That could be a very good swell. In addition to those light winds, conditions will be very good. Now with those light winds, we could see spinners over the next several days. We're talking funnel clouds, maybe some water spouts, and then drier conditions, though we could see some afternoon showers. That's going to start from Wednesday into the early part of next week with those extremely humid conditions. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
The Miami Dolphins have named Hawaii boy and rookie Tua Tagovailoa their starting quarterback. Ian Schuring has the details.
When he takes the field on November 1st, exactly 351 days will have passed since Tua Tagovailoa last started a football game.
This is exactly what you did not want to see happen.
That one against Mississippi State ended with career uncertainty. An injury so severe Tua was flown to the hospital for immediate medical treatment. Months of rehab followed, and despite the dislocated hip and broken bone, the Hawaii native became the 5th pick in April's NFL draft, his talents taken down to South Beach by the Miami Dolphins. When he takes the field on November 1st, it'll be for Tua Tagovailoa's first start in 351 days. 48 hours after his NFL debut, ESPN reported this morning that the Dolphins were naming Tua the team's starting quarterback.
Tua is looking to throw.
He'll have 2 weeks to prepare. Miami is on a bye this week before hosting the LA Rams and the best defensive player in football at Hard Rock Stadium. Miami's handling of their new franchise quarterback, bringing him along slowly instead of thrusting him into the action, has been applauded across the NFL. Hall of Fame front office exec Gil Brandt said this morning that the Dolphins could write a book about how to treat a young star quarterback, with head coach Brian Flores as the author. The chapter on Tua's pro career starts 2 Sundays from now. Another element in the story of a kid from Eva Beach who's thrown his way into the NFL.
Good news now, guys. Hey, are you looking for any deals out there for airlines? Well, Alaska Airlines is offering this up. It's called Swell Deals. Flights booked between today and Friday have a discount. It's all based on the swell heights that Surfline is predicting, or measuring, I should say. 0 to 3, you get 10% off. 4 to 6, 15% off. 7 to 12, 20% off. And 13 plus 30% off. You know, there are a lot of deals out there. I was helping my mom shop around for a trip she is booking next year for spring, and we looked at hotel rates last week compared to this week. It was almost $100 off a night difference. So they're dropping as more hotels open up.
Yep, lots
trying
of
to
flight
lure
deals
people
too.
in. Yep.
And check this out, you guys. Reese's is launching a hands-free candy giveaway promotion this Halloween so kids can trick-or-treat safely. The Reese's trick-or-treat door is designed to roll through neighborhoods via remote control and dispense peanut butter cups upon request. Now, the 9-foot robotic contraption announces its presence with smoke, Halloween lights, and a spooky soundtrack. All you have to do is say trick or treat, and the door gives you a king-size package of Reese's peanut butter cups. Now you can ask for the Reese's trick or treat door to come to your town by messaging at Reese's on Instagram. I don't know if they'll come to Hawaii though.
This just made me so happy. Seriously, this is hilarious. Podcast listeners, it's like a rolling R2-D2 door that just hands out candy. So, my dream come true. I live downtown. Come on through, Reese's R2.
Reese's.
Please.
And you guys, if you haven't seen it, it was a big night for a Maui man on NBC's The Voice. Here's Billy V with the wrap-up.
Last night on the premiere night of The Voice, Hawaii took center stage again, and another contestant gets chairs to turn in his favor in the first round of the blind auditions. Joseph Soul got Kelly Clarkson and Blake Shelton to turn their chairs. We spoke with him last night about the experience.
Oh my goodness, it was pretty nerve-wracking, honestly. Like, I performed at a bunch of shows like Major Raja, like a bunch of big shows and stuff, and honestly I thought I was ready for this, but it felt like nothing I've ever experienced before. I'm just thankful that I got through it and ended up getting a couple chairs.
Soul grew up in Maui, Hana side, and in Makakilo here on the island of Oahu.
I felt like I was prepared for the performance, and that's kind of why I got through it, because I just wasn't prepared for like the amount of nerves that I was going to feel. But they actually do an amazing job of getting us ready for that moment. We spent a lot of time preparing the song and rehearsing with the band and stuff, but I had never experienced anything like that in terms of being in front of the coaches and basically singing for my life.
Yeah, Soul went with Kelly, and he says she was his first choice from day one. The 34-year-old also says he's been doing this, singing, and being part of the music business since he was 12 years old. Living the dream. Keep watching for Joseph Soul, and watch for more blind auditions. That's coming up tonight. Tonight is the second debut night of The Voice on KHNL.
We'll be rooting for him.
Yeah.
And we're certainly rooting for this. NASA's history-making attempt to snag some asteroid samples. It's looking good. They just tweeted the space agency, "We're going in. Touchdown declared. Woo-hoo. Sampling is in progress." Yeah, it does look very good. Everyone's very excited in this live picture we're looking at from the control center there.
I love the disco lights going on.
I know. Definitely reason to celebrate. I love space news. It's one of my favorite topics. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. We'll have an update on exactly what's happening there with NASA on First at 4. Don't forget, we're podcasting as well. And big contest news coming tomorrow on This Is Now. You won't want to miss it.